ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। So in the last class we were studying from the 20th to the 23rd verse of the 6th chapter of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, where we found Bhagavan is speaking of some 6 conditions, 6 states we have to attain for being established in yoga, which will entail in the end of all suffering and the attainment of perpetual bliss, as has been spoken of as the ideal in Sankhya Yoga. Atyantika dukkha nivritti, parama sukha prapti. That annihilation of suffering totally and the attainment of bliss, which is supreme, parama sukha, uninterrupted bliss. Paramasukha means the bliss which has no interruption. In our life, we always find that happiness is momentary. All the sunset pleasures of life give us momentary happiness. The moment my desire is fulfilled, just for that moment, that I feel a bliss, a type of ecstasy, and then again it evaporates. And it goes on throughout our life. We find that happiness is not something which is perpetual, which is permanent. But here, Bhagavan is confirming to the fact, is asserting that know it for certain that if you get established in yoga, which can be realized when you get established in the 6 states which has been spoken of from 120th to the 123rd verse, actually 122nd verse, 133rd verse speaks that if all the 6 things which have been spoken of, 6 conditions which is spoken of, gets fulfilled, that will result in this annihilation of suffering. That tang vidyat dukkha samyoga viyogam. That at present, our life is always conjoined with suffering, dukkha samyoga. And know it for certain, that will become a past tense, viyoga. It will get as if amputated, surgically amputated. Suffering will get amputated from your life. There will be viyoga of it, and you will get established in bliss by the help of this yoga. So know it for certain. So nishchayena yuktavya yoga nirvinna chetasa. So without any sort of inadvertence, with constant, with a perseverance, without the idea, oh, I have practiced so much, nothing is happening. Don't encourage that idea. Have perseverance, have patience. Continue with your practice. Know it for certain. Today or tomorrow, you are going to get established in yoga, which will give us the ultimate fulfillment in life. So the 6 conditions, in a very quickly we can say what were they? First is uparati, as was spoken of in the 20th verse. Yatra uparate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya. The very first thing, I sit down and I am vigilant. Before starting my meditation, I am vigilant that whether my mind is still interacting with the world. I have to stop that. That mentally, that interaction has to stop. So that's why that practice of mindfulness is the preliminary practice for any meditative practices. First, be mindful. And what's the way? The way is to not to forcefully try to stop your thoughts. Just think you are the witness. You are witnessing your thoughts, your feelings, your attitudes without reacting to it. As if it is something which is objective. You are the one who is witnessing. Let it pass on. Just like a procession passing through the street, you are observing it without reacting to it. And you will find all the vexations of your mind, all the turbulence of your mind gradually gets calmed down. Swami Vivekananda used to give a very nice example that our mind is like a lake, and all the external interaction is just like pelting stone on that lake. Whatever I see, whatever I hear, whatever I smell, whatever I taste, whatever I touch, five senses. And apart from that, whatever the feelings are generated because of those five interactions with the world, all those things are like pelting the stone on the lake called mind. Now, when I throw a stone on a lake, the lake, of course, gets disturbed. But the disturbance is not something which stops immediately. You will find the moment I pelt a stone, it will create ripples. The ripples will be there for quite long. And Swamiji is saying very nicely that throughout the day, so many stones has been pelted on the lake of my mind, and I have created such innumerable ripples. And in the evening, suppose I come back to my home and I think, let me sit down and meditate. And you will find it is almost impossible to meditate because all those ripples are still continuing in your mind. Throughout the day, you have been pelting stones. Now, if you take a resolution, I have to stop all these vexations of the mind. I have to fix my mind and concentrate. This resolution itself becomes another pelting of stone on all the stones you have already pelted. It is almost impossible. Most of our meditation is like what? That I have hired an Uber car and I sit on the back seat, and when the car has started, I have told him is my destination. But after speaking to him of my destination, as I'm quite familiar with the road, I go on instructing him constantly. Turn left, turn right. Some vehicle is coming, apply brake. What will happen? The Uber driver will go to the side of the road and say, please, sir, please get down. That's what happens with our meditation. Constantly we are going on directing the mind to stop your thoughts, try to be calm. And then mind, like the Uber driver will say, okay, enough. So we'll find we are tired, we are exhausted, nothing happened with the meditation. We come out from our sit. So that's what happens. So that's why the first thing we have to do is allow the mind to calm down by itself. Let it take its own time. The ripples which I have created throughout the day, it will take its own time. Don't go on pelting stones again. Just take the back seat and allow the mind to take its own time for the ripples to stop. You'll find that if we are mindful, we are just not trying to get away from our thoughts. We are observing our thoughts without reacting to it and just simply observing as a witness. Know it for certain, in a very short time, we will find that the mind is gradually getting calmed down. And that's why that's the first practice which has been spoken of, uparati. First, calm down the mind. Let the vexation stop. And then, yatra chaivat manatmanang pashyan atmani tushyati. So throughout the day, what I was doing, myself, through my mind and the senses, was projecting out to interact with this world. Stop that. Let the self interact with the self. Let it not make the mind and the senses like props, as if it always needs those props to assert its existence. There's no need for that. Let us try to dive within. That's the very first step for our spiritual journey, to turn within. That in Kathopanishad, that famous slok is there. Paranchi khani vyatrinat swayambhu tasmat parak pashyati na antaratman kaschit dhira pratyagatmanakshat avritta chakshu amritatvam icchan. So what's that idea? Paranchi khani. Khani means the senses. Vyatrinat swayambhu. The Lord has inflicted the senses in such a way that it always moves outward. Tasmat parak pashyati. Parak means outward. Na antaratma. It never dies within. Kaschid dhira, a few blessed one, who knows calming of the mind is the only spiritual practice. They are the dhira, the calm ones. Kaschid dhira. They are few. Kaschid dhira pratyagatmanakshat. See, the parak means moving out. Pratyak means moving within. Pratyagatman, the self which is within. Desiring that. What he does, the first thing, avritta chakshu. Closes the senses. Desiring immortality. Amritatvam icchan. So that's the second practice. Yatra chaivatmana. So you have to dive within. Don't allow the self to project itself out through the mind and the senses, constantly interacting with the world. Dive within. So that's the yatra chaiva atmanat atmana. The self is as if visualizing the self itself, not visualizing the external world. Atmana, atmanam, pashyan, atmani tishyati, and is happy to reside in the self. And that's the idea of swasth. Swasth doesn't mean the lack of disease. The word swasth, which we use, it's a Sanskrit word, which we use even in our regional language, in Hindi, in Bengali. Swasth means the one who is residing in himself. Swa me sthit, one is residing in himself. And that's the practice which has been spoken of as a second practice. And then, when you really succeed to a certain extent in keeping the mind in the self, now you have attained the skills. Previously, it was a challenge. My skills were not up to the challenge. But now, with my practice, my skills meet the challenge. Meditation has become spontaneous. For the first time, you will find you're attaining a peace, a bliss, which you have never, ever experienced. It's not the ultimate peace, but it's the bliss which comes when, to a certain extent, I can control my mind. It's sukham atyantikam yatvad buddhi grahyam atindriyam. Ati indriya. Till now, all my happiness was because of my interaction with the world through the senses, through the indriya. Now, all the happiness which I get through the indriya has that limitation. What's that limitation? The thing which I am yearning, which I am desiring. The moment I do get happiness, but very quickly I get satiated. From the morning I was cooking to have some delicacy. I took some 3 hours, most probably, for my cooking. How much time I can take for my having the food? At the most 15 minutes, half an hour, it's over. So all our our endeavor to enjoy is over by half an hour. How much the delicacy I may like, can I go on having it? No. One serve, after that I may go for the second serve, maybe third serve, and then I'm satiated. Even the best thing which I like, when I'm satiated, if someone comes and offers me, I will feel totally disgusted. No, enough. I cannot have. I'm satiated. And your happiness is over. So in half an hour at the most, your happiness is over. So how can I continue with the bliss? There is a bliss where there is as if no limitation of time. Just let us forget about the spiritual practice. Just suppose someone has started playing instrumental music. It's a sitar. So at the beginning, the skills are yet to meet the challenge. So he's trying, endeavoring his best. It's not a very pleasant thing just when you are learning. It's not a very pleasant thing. But when gradually through your practice, you have really learned to a certain extent, now your skills have met the challenge. Now you will really enjoy playing that music. The more you enjoy, the more is your focus. And the more you get focused on your music, that is the beauty of the mind. The more it gets focused on one thing, the other thing starts falling off. If anyone calls you, you hear that. But when you are watching a match in the TV, you're fully engrossed. Someone calls, you don't hear. What has happened? The sound is entering the ears, but the mind cannot register it because it is focused to something else. So the same thing happens for one who is gradually becoming adept in meditation. The mind gets so focused in the thought of the self, all the distraction starts falling off. Even the bodily feelings, that for the sitar, the one who is playing that sitar, the musical instrument, you'll find for hours he's or she's playing. Most probably it was the time for lunch, he or she forgot it. He forgets that it is the time to take rest. He forgets that it is the time for food, for taking rest. He continues for hours without getting exhausted. And not only that, he is in bliss, totally absorbed. What has happened? That all the distractions, even in the form of the bodily feelings like hunger, thirst, they are also not registered by the mind. The mind is so focused. And as a result, you enter into a state of bliss. Why? Because for the first time, I realized that I was carrying a baggage of thoughts, worries, feelings. I was carrying it for such a long time. It became so much habitual. I never realized that I'm carrying a weight. I'm always carrying a baggage. I never realized. It became so habitual. For the first time, somehow, accidentally, that baggage has been taken away from me. I have kept it down. And then I suddenly find a wonderful change. Oh, it's so relaxing. A let go ensues. I'm feeling so light. That strain, constant strain, which was with me is no more there. And that takes you into a sense of that sukha, bliss. For the first time, the worries, the tensions, the feelings, the constant anxieties, they have fallen off. Your mind is just enjoying the bliss. As if like with a small boat, you were trying to go for fishing. That's the example in Puri I saw. That's a fisherman with small boat. They try to go into the deep waters of the ocean. Now the waves are so strong, they throw them back again and again, again and again. But they know that deep into the sea, if somehow they can manage to go there, the water is calm. So this barrier of waves is not something which is going to be there for as long as I'm fishing. There's a barrier. There's a barrier. I have to cross that barrier. And once I cross that barrier, now I will be in the calm waters of the ocean. And that's what happens with our spiritual journey too. That once the skill meets the challenge, you have crossed the barrier of the waves of your mind. Now you enjoy the tranquility of the ocean. And that's the idea, the third idea which has been spoken of. Sukham atyantikam yatvad buddhigrahyam atindriyam. Vetti yatra na chaivayam sthitas chalati tattvata. So that in which being established, one never departs from the reality. When you have attained that state, when you have attained that peaceful state, there is no question of departing from it. Why? As we were saying, that sensate pleasures gives you that joy, it is limited, and again you are back, it's evaporated. But this allows you to continue in that state of flow without just ending in a satiation after a short while. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, that all the sensory pleasures are like what? It's just like a drop of water falling on a hot cauldron. It falls, immediately it evaporates. That's what our sensory pleasures are. So here it is saying that once you attain that, it allows you to continue in that state without bringing you a sense of satiation. And then in the 22nd verse, what you find? The same idea. This young labdhva cha aparang lavam manyate nadhikam tata. For the first time, you have gained something where you find that nothing else is comparable to that. It allows you to be in that state of perpetual bliss without tension, without worries. Why it happens? That till now, as long as I thought that sensate pleasures are the be all and end all of my existence. Now, for all the sensate pleasures of life, at last, all the sensate pleasures can be boiled down to the three types of desires which gives us that result. So, what are they? Putraishana, Vittaishana, Yashaishana. The desire for progeny, the desire for wealth, the desire for name and fame. All these desires, the fulfillment of them is dependent on something external, extraneous. And when anything for which you are depending, which is external to you, it speaks of challenges. It speaks of traffic. It's just like you are passing through a road full of traffic and there are so many crossings. What it speaks that if I get the green signal, the other is bound to get the red signal. If I get the red signal, if someone else gets the green signal, I am bound to get the red signal. So in our life, it is full of that. Whether it's relations, whether it is your name and fame, position in life. There is a job, there are 100 applicants, only 10 will get. So for 90, the red signal is waiting for them. Only for 10, the green signal will be there. Everywhere, whereas it is something extraneous, you are as if traversing through a road which is full of traffic. Now, for the first time, by diving within the self and being established in it, you have started liking it. You have designed a road in your mind, which is just like the freeway. It has no traffic. The moment I dive within, I am in communion with the self. No one can take it away. The more I practice, in the modern day, the neuroplasticity says, the more the groove in my mind gets deepened, the more the wiring becomes stronger, the more intense is my focus, the more intense is my bliss. And nothing is there to take it away from me. It is something intrinsic. It is something within. It is not depending on something external. So as even in the last class, we were indicating that the famous song of Mirabai, that I have attained a treasure. What's the treasure? That is Rama Ratana, the treasure of Rama, of the Lord. What is the treasure like? That no one can take it away from me. It's such a treasure. And those famous lines, Kharche nahi koi, chor na leve, dina dina varat savayo. It never gets expanded. The more you get established in that practice, the more is your bliss. No one can take it away from me, like any other worldly things. Dina dina varata. The more I practice, the more the groove is deepened in my mind because of the neuroplasticity, the more is my happiness. Dina dina varata. It goes on increasing. So that's the thing. Yang labdhva chaparang lavam manyate nadhikam tata. I find that there is nothing else which can give me more happiness than this. And yasmin sthito na dukkhena guru napi vichalyate. Once you get established in that, that ultimately takes you to the spiritual realization where you find that you are the witness. You're the self. You are not the body-mind complex. So now, previously I was in the stream. I was being carried away by the stream. Sometimes on the crest, I was taken. Again, I was on the trough. I was falling. The dualities of life, that was something which was carrying me along with its stream, along with its flow. Now I am out of the stream. I'm sitting on the bank and just watching the stream. The body-mind complex has to go on with the interaction with the world. I cannot stop that. Sometimes it will lead to pleasurable sensations. Sometimes it is going to lead to misery. But once I get established in the self, now I have as if came out of the stream and I'm on the shore watching the stream. Now everything has become objective. That I go beyond suffering doesn't mean it is something like anesthesia, that I don't at all feel the pain. I feel, but I know it is something not me. The sense that connectivity has fallen off. So though I am aware of it, but I am not identified with it. And that enables me to remain calm in all the situations of life. Nothing can disturb me. I just become like the anvil of the blacksmith. That's the example we find in the scriptures they give again and again. That in the blacksmith's anvil, you go on hammering on it to give shape to the red hot iron. Some iron, I have to give the particular shape. I first make it red hot and then put it on the anvil and go on hammering to give it a shape. So that way, the red hot iron takes a particular shape because of the hammering, but nothing happens to the anvil. It is as if in no way affected by the incessant hammering which is going on. And that's the state we attain once we get established in the self. We become just like the witness. In the words of Ramakrishna, you become like a ripened coconut, where the shell has got separated from the kernel. For an unripe coconut, I cannot separate the shell from the kernel. They're all intertwined. But when it gets ripened, the shell has got separated from the kernel. So the kernel, the core of my being has got separated from this body-mind complex, the shell. And that's how I'm never getting identified with it. I'm aware of all the dualities of life, but it no more affects me. So that's the idea. So these are the 6 states when you go through. Then in the 23rd, it was mentioned, Tang Vidyad Dukkha Samyoga Viyogam. Now you have imputed the suffering. It has become something past tense. You don't know what suffering is anymore. That it used to be. It's no more a part of my existence. And you become established in that yoga. So as you know that this is something which has to be attained, if you really want fulfillment in life, persevere. Don't think that you are going to attain it in one day. It takes time. As we give that example again and again, a coarse rock lying in the river bed, the water is flowing over it. At any point of time, I see no change. But in 100 years, or maybe in 2-3 centuries, that coarse rock will become smooth. It will become just like that Shiva Linga, very smooth. That when the water was flowing over it, at any moment of time, I saw no change, but the change was happening. Gradual change was happening. And at last, when I see in retrospect, I find that that coarse rock now has become the smooth rock, something adorable, something worshipable. So that's what is our mind like. That no change happens, something which is perceptible most of the time. But we shouldn't be disheartened. We shouldn't think, oh, I have practiced so much, nothing is happening. We should be persevering. We should never lose our enthusiasm and continue with our practice assiduously and know it for certain. That is the only way to reach that happiness. Nanya pantha vidyate ayana. There is no other way. And we have to traverse this journey. It is difficult, but not impossible. Just like climbing the Everest. It is difficult, but not impossible. Similarly, this journey, no one will say it's easy. It's difficult, but not impossible. So as it is something which is possible, have this purity, patience, perseverance. Purity is this your constant endeavor to keep your mind in the self. That is the purity. It's not easy. You have to have patience and have to try again and again, again and again. till at last you attain that goal and know it for certain that's the goal, which is the ultimate fulfillment in life. Nothing else can give us the joy that we can attain by the attainment of the self. So, after this, now the supreme discipline regarding the yoga, Bhagavan will speak of in the 24th and in the 25th verse of the 6th chapter, which we have to study together. What are these things saying? Sankalpan prabhavan kaman styaktva sarvan asheshata manasa eva indriya gramam viniyamya samantatah. So this is the 24th verse. And the 25th, Shanai Shanai Uparamet Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya Atma Sangsthang Manah Kritva Na Kinchit Api Chintayet. So this, some of the words are technical terms. We will go to it gradually. Sankalpan Prabhavan Kama, that all the desires are motivated by sankalpa. So all these desires which are motivated by sankalpa, you have to renounce them. Sankalpan prabhavan, being influenced by the sankalpa, the desires that arise. Sankalpan prabhavan kaman, tyaktva, you have to renounce them. Sarvan asheshata, in totality, you have to renounce them. That's the meaning of the word sannyasa. What sannyasa means? Samyak nyasa. In totality, samyak, the word samyak means in totality. Nyasa means renunciation. So Sarvan Asheshata speaks of that it have to renounce them, relinquish them totally. It's not just a part-time affair. That okay, that I have taken a vrat for few days, till for these few days I will be fasting, I will be sleeping on the ground, or what all those practices which speaks of relinquishment. I just adopt all those practices for few days, and after that again I go back to my old way of living. That way it do help us in developing the samskaras, but at last the goal is not to just stop after some time and again go back to your way of old way of life. It has to continue. Aseshata manasa eva indriya gramam viniyamya samantatah. So drawing back the senses from every direction by the strength of the mind. The mind, with the mind, I have to bring it back. But it's not easy. If I say my mind, don't go, it will go again and again. So for that, you have to use your buddhi, the discriminating faculty, the nishchayatmika buddhi, by constantly trying to control the mind, by cajoling the mind, that what you are doing is not going to give you any ultimate fulfillment. What you are enjoying is something which has no as such essential, something has essence in it. It's all trash. So with this type of thoughts, the buddhi has to constantly cajole the mind. Shanai shanai. Gradually. Shanai shanai means gradually. Uparamet. How I have to bring back the mind from the senses? Buddhya dhriti grihitaya. With the help of buddhi. Buddhi's dhriti. What dhriti speaks of? Dhriti speaks of that so many ideas we have in our mind, but in proper time they are of no use. I cannot recollect them. Dhriti means dharana. When Sri Ramakrishna went for the photography for the first time, in those days, you know, the camera, these old cameras, how it works, Sri Ramakrishna wanted to know. He was very curious. And then the photographer explained that the light will be falling on the lenses, and that again will be traversing within the camera to a plate, a glass plate. In the olden days, there was a glass plate which has a particular coating, the coating of a chemical. Now, when the light falls on that glass coated with that particular chemical, silver nitrate, it is coated, then the impression that falls there, it is retained. It's not lost. But when I stand in front of the mirror, the moment I am away from the mirror, my image is no more there. But here, I have such a glass where I stand, my reflection falls on it, I go away, the reflection is returned. So, seeing that, Sri Ramakrishna immediately said, that's the dharana. That's the dharana. That what I once registered in the mind, I never forget it. It is written. So buddhi has the capacity to return those impressions. And then only if I can return them, then with that returned impressions, if I constantly go on instructing the mind, then the mind will be gradually calming down. And then it will help you to Atma Sangsthang Mana Kritva Nakinchit Api Chintayet. So then it becomes Atma Sthangsthang. Once the mind is established in the self, he should think of nothing else. So this is the idea of these two slokas. What actually is speaking of this, now let us take the word sankalpa, which is the key word for this of all the ideas which has been spoken of in these two verses. What is sankalpa? Sankalpa is, in our scriptures, they say it is shobhana adhyasa. Shobhana adhyasa. Adhyasa means superimposition. To take a thing what it is not. Shobhana. I take a thing to be very beautiful, which actually it is not. Just take the human body. That we are so much as a human being, we find that one of the biggest attachment is for some other person. That he is beautiful, she is beautiful. But what is beautiful? Just the surface. Beneath that, what it is? It's all, the things are so disgusting that I will feel repelled if I see what's there inside. So this is called Shobhana Adhyasa, seeing the beauty in certain things which it is not. It is just like if in some movie I saw long back, it is called the Pushpak. For some reason, a person was having no means to drain off the filth, the night soil. So what he will do, every day he will pack it very nicely in some packet, the night soil, very nice, colorful, that paper, it will wrap it, and then spray some nice fragrance over it. And then he will take that packet on the bus stop and standing as if waiting for the bus. And now when the bus comes, he will just pretend as if he's in such a hurry, he forgets to take the packet. He will leave it there and get up on the bus. And now some others who is standing in the bus stop, he gets lured. Oh, such a beautiful packet. So he has left it. So he takes it. When he finds that no one is watching him, he takes that packet. And now what happens, they never show that. Only they show the next day, the person has again brought that packet and he has just kept it somewhere on the bus stop and waiting for the bus. And the other person who took it, he is also there. And just seeing the packet, he starts vomiting. That's what they're showing. So we are all supposed to do that. If we really, really always can see that the things which we like as such have no essence. There's a very nice story that a guru asked a disciple that please bring the filthiest thing in this world, the most filthiest thing, you can bring it. So that the disciple was searching, and at last he found that yes, that again there's some night soil was there, and he thought that this is the thing, the most filthiest thing, and he was about to collect it when that filth itself shouted and told, "Don't touch me." Why? Well, as that I was actually a very nice sweet, maybe darvesh or rasgulla, in a sweetmeat shop. In the showcase, I was there in the sweetmeat shop, and some human being touched me, and this is the thing I have been converted to. So this Shobhana Dhyasa, now I will understand what is Shobhana Dhyasa. So throughout our life, we are taking a thing to be Shobhana, which it is not. From that, all our desires come. All the desires come from that. So now you will understand Sankalpan, Prabhavan, Kaman. What Sankalpa means? The desires born from Sankalpa means to perceive a thing which is Ashobhana, which is disgusting as Shobhana. So you are just imposing something which it is not. I mean, what is Shobhana? The self alone is the thing which is Shobhana. We are never ever trying to dive within the thing which can take us beyond all sorts of worries, tension. It's the only where when I'm residing in the self, then only it is something intrinsic, that happiness which it is not depending on something external. So there is no worries, no tension. It is the purest of the pure thing, which is beyond all contamination. I never feel driven to that. I'm feeling driven to the things which is Ashobhana. So from that, all the desires arise. So first I have to get rid of them. Sarvan Asheshata. How? Manasa eva indriya gramam viniyam. By bringing back the mind from its contemplation, from its interaction with the sensate world. How is it possible? I am passing by the road. I see a wonderful, there's a display, all the display, the sensate displays. How can I cannot close my eyes and walk on the road. I have to interact. So the thing is very nice. A very senior Swami, he was taking our class. So he was indicating that yes, when you are bound to interact with the world because of your responsibilities, you have to move out, you have to interact with the world. And so many things are bound to be perceived by you. I cannot stop it. Then how can I practice Manasaiva Indriya Graman Viniyamya to stop interacting with the world? I cannot do that. So he started a very interesting thing. You're passing by the road, you see something which appeals to the senses. Now, you cannot stop it because you cannot close your eyes and walk. But beware. After you just look at it and you naturally withdraw your eyes from it, and something within says you look again. So there, that is no more your prarabdha. That is something, your action, which will again lead to prarabdha. First was your prarabdha, was probably because of your past actions, you are born in such a situation where you are bound to interact with these things. I cannot stop that. But again, the mind says, look at it again, the second time. Yes, then you are again creating your prarabdha. So there, I have to now recoil my senses. Yes, I cannot stop immediately, but now I can do that. That's the thing. Manasa eva indriya gramam viniyamya. So when I am moving around, my eyes are open. So I have to gaze unintentionally, something which is undesirable. But I cannot control my eyes that way. But do I choose to look again to it? So there comes the question of controlling the mind. So yes. So then that's how I'm trying to control myself. That yes, this is the thing which is something not good for my spiritual journey. Nothing is bad. Because even if there is a nice sloka, what it says, that to have food, to procreate, these are the things which is common to all living beings. From a small bacteria to a human being. That's the common thing. So there is nothing evil in it. That sometimes we develop some psychological issues by thinking, oh, they are papa, not papa. They're a natural way of life. But I have chosen, I have now considered that from this life, that after all, these all can never give me ultimate happiness. From the bacteria till the human, all the sensate pleasures, they can never give me any ultimate happiness. So now I have chosen a path which is going to give me ultimate happiness. So that's why I am renouncing them willfully. They're not bad. Okay, that's the way the world is. I have chosen not to. So that's why with that conscious decision, I am diverting myself from all those things. Not with any guilt conscience, but with an aspiration. Not with a guilt conscience, but with aspiration. So these are the very subtle points in our spiritual journey. Guilt conscience is going to harm us, but the aspiration will sublime, gradually sublime all our these basal instincts gradually to it will take us towards the spiritual goal. So Shanai, Shanai Uparame, the next comes. Now, if I say my mind, don't look it for the second time. It will. I cannot stop it immediately. So how? Buddhya dhriti grihitaya. Yes, I sat down when we were having the spiritual discussions, we were trying to find out the nature of the happiness which we have. We find that actually, in essence, they are nothing. The thing which I think Shobhana is not Shobhana at all. These all things I tried to understand with my intellect. Now, can I hold on to it with the dhriti, that dharana? If I hold on to it, then this intellect, which holds on to this idea, with this intellect now will be constantly cajoling the mind. See, what you are getting drawn towards is actually not that good. It has nothing to give you. It is just an advertisement. It ultimately is going to give you no happiness. So that's with that intellect, you're constantly cajoling the mind. So that's how Shanai Uparamet. And gradually you have to withdraw the mind by constantly speaking that what you like is actually Shobhana Dhyasa. That's the Sankalpa from which it has arisen, Shobhana Dhyasa. Gradually you have to withdraw. And then one you can do that, Shanai, Uparamet, Vidya, Dhriti, Grihita. And once you get established in it, then this Atma Sangstham, then never again allow the mind to go back to its old ways. That once the mind is established in the self, you should think of nothing else. So this vigilance is the price, the sign of purity. The sign of purity is vigilance. How vigilant you become. The more you progress in the spiritual journey, what happens? You become extremely sensitive. In the scriptures, they give a very nice example. Suppose a sand particle falls on your skin. You even don't realize. It doesn't in any way create discomfort. The sand particle has fallen. Sometimes even you don't realize there is sand particle. Children come from after playing, you find full of dust. It is the parent who will be removing the dust. The child is not at all aware of it. But the same sand particle or the dust, if it falls on your eyes, what will be your feeling? It will immediately, you will feel that's creating a tremendous discomfort. So scriptures say that a spiritual person, the sign that you are evolving is that all the impure thoughts, which never used to bother you, now have started really bothering you. You start really getting agitated, disturbed. That speaks of your sensitivity. You have become more and more vigilant. That wonderful example in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, that what vigilance is. That purity is not innocence. It is maturity through the experiences of life. I went through some experiences. I found something is not going to give me any happiness. It is going to end in misery after all. But I don't learn. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the camel goes on feeding on the thorny bushes. Its throat bleeds, but still it continues to eat on thorny bushes. Our condition is like that. We go on doing the same mistake again and again. I still remember in the school exhibition, we did some experiment that an earthworm was kept in a T-shaped transparent uh, container. It was a shape of T. It was made of glass. In one of the legs, now T has 3 legs. In one of the legs, in some moist soil, some food was kept for the earthworm. Some grass was there, it was moist, and a very, very mild electricity was connected to that moist soil. And earthworm was there on the second leg, and the third leg was empty. These are the 3 legs. Now, throughout the day, whenever the earthworm feels like having food, it will move to the junction of the 3 legs in the center of the T. And naturally, it turns towards the moist soil where the food is kept. It goes, The moment it wants to have the food, it's because of the electric shock it gets. It's a mild shock, it won't kill it, but it gets repelled. It again comes back. And throughout the day, we were observing that how many times the earthworm is going and coming back. It was more than 200 times. It went and came back, went and came back, went and came back. Why that experiment was done? Just to show that the memory of earthworm is very weak. It doesn't register anything. It forgets. But are we in something better condition? No. We'll find in life the same things which are causing us misery, we are repeating again and again. We have no dhriti. That's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the so-called intellectuals of our society are like a vulture. They soar very high up in the sky, but their attention is on the carcasses, on the rotten flesh lying in some ditch on the earth, flying so high, but all the attention is there, fixed there. So that's what's our condition. There's no dhriti. We hear the scriptures, but at last we will find our mind is drawn towards that. So that's why it is said gradually that you have to internalize. Once I know that this is not going to give me any happiness, why should I be in pursuit of it? It's not a sin. Again, we say it's not a sin, but it is not going to give me happiness. So constantly have to cajole the mind. If you really want ultimate happiness, then you have to bring your mind away from it, because it in essence not going to give you any happiness. And once you bring it back, never again fall back to it. For that vigilance is required. You have developed that sensitivity. You don't commit the same mistake again and again. That vigilance, as we were speaking of, what it speaks in the life of Sri Ramakrishna is a nice incident where we will understand what purity is. Purity is not innocence. A small child is innocent, and we think, oh, he's godlike. And in the adolescence, we find that he's changing. All the ideas which were yet to manifest in his mind, now they're automatically, because of the biological clock, it automatically starts sprouting in the mind. And we find its tendencies are growing in different directions. So the child is innocent, but is not pure. What is purity? It is maturity through experience. That I have went through some situations in life, and then I have learned from the experience. I don't repeat this thing again. I have become vigilant. But as we tell that what's purity, that someone asked Swami Sharadananda, when he was in the West, a question, what is life? In one line, he gave a wonderful answer. Life is nothing but a chain of experiences. What a wonderful answer. Life is nothing but a chain of one after another. Whether we like it or not, experiences are going on. When we look back in the retrospect, we find that so many experiences we were going through. We were planning so many things. Nothing happened as my plan. Man proposes, God disposes. It happened. And I was experiencing. I was going through. And the next question was, what is the aim of life? Very nice, you have told. It's a chain of experiences. No one can deny it. And what a wonderful answer again he gives. He is not speaking of God or anything. Very simple answer. To learn from those experiences. Do we learn from those experiences? We go on committing the same mistake again and again. If we are learning, that speaks of the vigilance. Don't commit. The life of Sri Ramakrishna, the purity. What is purity? That story, very nice story. That one day, when he was in Dakshineshwar, during his period of spiritual sadhana, every 3 months he used to come back to Kamarpukur, his own village, because that's when it was in the rainy season, when the Ganges water became very turgid in the rainy season, and that's the time people used to get all sorts of disease like cholera and other things. So that's the time Sri Ramakrishna felt that it is not proper time to stay here. Every time he gets sick, so he used to go back to Kamarpukur for those 3 months. So when he was in Kamarpukur, now he was already married. Wife was a child when he was married. First, she was just 5. Now she has grown. And her village was, Sharda Devi's village was another 3 kilometers away from Kamarpukur in Jairambati. Now when Ramakrishna was in Kamarpukur, she used to come and stay with Ramakrishna for those few months, for 3 months, along with Ramakrishna at Kamarpukur. Now, when Holy Mother was growing, constantly she would hear that your husband is mad. That's what outwardly he looked like because of the spirit, tremendous spiritual, the tsunami which was going through his life that made him appear like a mad person. That he is mad. You are never going to have any children. So that's the thing they constantly used to say to her. Ramakrishna knew when Sharada Devi came, Ramakrishna's life was destined to be something. Holy Mother's life was also destined to be something else, to show an example to the world that even spirituality can be practiced in a household life. That family life is not only meant for bhoga, it is meant for spiritual fulfillment. That at last you can be companion in the spiritual journey. Though it can start very big in the beginning to fulfill the worldly duties, but it doesn't mean that it should continue throughout your life. Then you can become a spiritual companion to show the world. Ramakrishna's marriage was for that. But he wanted to show the world that. So he knew what his destiny is. Very interesting. To and Holy Mother, in her mind, because of this, constantly listening to others, she also had the desire. Why not have a biological child? It was not something a very intrinsic desire. Just by hearing, she also had that idea. Now, Ramakrishna, how she is educating very nicely. So one day, Holy Mother was brooming the courtyard, and Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the corner of the courtyard. Now, to bring the idea of impermanence in the Holy Mother's mind, she was still quite young. So he started saying, what's the use of having children? So you have a child and you're so happy on its first, this rice partaking ceremony. You wear you adorn yourself with all the ornaments, you wear the most costly sari, you're so happy, you're inviting your guests, and suddenly you hear the child is sick, and then you find it has got infected by cholera, and within few days it dies. And then you open all your ornaments and your sari, everything, you just fall on the ground and just weep and wail. And then again you forget, most probably another child is born, and again you are happy, and this time it dies because of malaria. So he was again and again repeating like that. The child is born, this time it dies of malaria, this time because of typhoid, this time because of cholera. And Holy Mother was brooming the ground with a long well. Ramakrishna most probably never saw Holy Mother's face. Very interesting. She always used to have a long well. From behind the well, Holy Mother very mildly told, will all of them die? And Ramakrishna, who was joking, immediately he jumped up from his seat. And just before leaving the place, he told, oh, it seems I have stamped on the tail of a deadly snake, cobra, deadly cobra. And Holy Mother was highly embarrassed. So this is the purity, that vigilance. That little inkling he got the idea of that worldly entanglement. No more joke. He immediately jumps up. That's the sensitivity, that a sign particle has fallen on your eye. And that speaks of this Atma Sangsthang Manakritva. Once you get established, Kinchitapina Chintayet. Again, I never go back to that old way of living. Once you have resolved that I'm going to lead a life, a spiritual life, again going back to the worldly way is just like you spit out and then again you leak your own spit. Okay. That's just like the same as that. So that's the thing which is an indicator. This is the intense, the supreme discipline regarding the yoga, which Bhagavan is speaking of in the 24th and in the 25th verse. So we will proceed to the next verse again in the next class. So to end this section where the practices has been spoken of in details. So with the 26th verse, we will again take this 24th and the 25th with reference to some of the allegory in Kathopanishad. And then we will proceed to the 26th verse, and then the succeeding portions of the 6th chapter, where all the results when you attain the yoga has been spoken of. That will be taken off gradually in the succeeding classes. So with this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar.